All right, so we have written our introduction paragraph for our essay comparing and contrasting Lucy and Alice, and now we want to actually look at doing the body paragraphs, which has all the kind of meat of our essay. We know from the thesis what our essay is going to be about, and now we actually have to do that. So one thing I want to talk about is when you're doing an essay, you need to have all your resources. I normally don't write an essay through a computer screen or even with typing. I normally handwriting it. And when I would do this with students, I'm walking around the room, going back and forth, and I want them to see what I have. So I'm going to use my computer to show you what I have. I have my chart that we did. I have my text, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Down the Rabbit Hole. I have that as well. So it's important to know that we have these things with us. And I have, of course, my essay that I'm working on. And the reason I show you that is because normally when I'm with students, I'm demonstrating by actually having the book in front of me and my notebook and the chart that we've already done together. And this is an electronic form of that where it's all online, but it's the same principle. You need to have those things. That's why I always try to have like plenty of room in my class to kind of spread out, because you have these different things in front of you in case you need to refer to them. Now, the point of the chart is that I have really everything I need, but sometimes when I'm looking at the chart or I have like a piece of text-based information, I might question when I'm writing my essay and I need to go back to the actual text itself. So it's good to have that there as well. But we have our chart, so the main thing we're going to use starting out is our chart. And if we need to go back to a text, then I have that available as well. Okay, so we're ready to do the body paragraph. Okay, so the first thing I always tell students is if I have to compare and contrast, do it in that order. First compare, then contrast. So I have the things that these two characters have in common. If you remember, we underlined them and bolded them. So Lucy is curious and adventurous. Alice is curious, and Alice is also adventurous. So that's going to be what my first paragraph is going to be about. So Lucy and Alice, despite being in two different stories, share several traits in common. Real quick, notice how I have that they're alike here, and then I have the word common here. One thing that I really like to emphasize to students is word choice and various word choices. Having multiple options to say the same thing, so that way you don't find yourself saying the same thing over and over again. You don't want to say they're both very similar. They're really, really similar. They're very much similar. You want to say they're similar. They're alike. They have things in common. I'm saying the same idea, but with different words. And use of word choice is something that's really important. Okay, so we said Lucy and Alice, despite being in two different stories, share several traits in common. Okay, I look at my chart. We said they're both curious and adventurous. So I'm going to kind of spread out and write about each of those. One trait they share in common is that both girls are very curious. Now I'm going to have to use an example. Okay, I already have text-based evidence, but let's look here. I have a chart about putting evidence in your essay, putting textual evidence. Okay, find what you want to quote. We already did that. Now look at this step here. Set up your evidence. Explain in your writing what is happening in the scene before you insert the quote. Okay, so I have my quote over here. Lucy felt a little frightened, but she felt very inquisitive and excited as well. So, look right here. I already have the setup explaining what's happening. So I'm just going to put that in my essay. Notice, please, that the more work you do in putting your information in one place, the less likely it is that you have to go to all these other sources. If you do that first, you have it. And our chart kind of has all the information we need to do our essay. Okay, so we're going to write first about what's happening. One trait they share in common is that both girls are very curious. Lucy shows her curiosity. Glad I had that spell check there. Curiosity when she enters the world of Narnia. Sorry, I need to put, it's good to have that check there. Lucy is exploring a wardrobe when she suddenly finds herself in the forest of a magical world. Okay, now let's look. What do we have? Lucy felt a little frightened, and she felt very inquisitive and excited as well. When Lucy, see, I'm glad I have this. When Lucy realizes that she is in this world, she has the option of going back to the wardrobe or continuing into this mysterious, unknown place. All right, I've set up what's happening. Now I'm going to put that quote directly. Lucy felt a little frightened, but she felt very inquisitive and excited as well. The book describes this saying, quote, Lucy felt a little frightened. I want to make sure I get this exactly right. But she felt very inquisitive and excited as well. Okay, look, I set up what was happening in the story and I put a direct quote. Okay, so now, once you do that, you want to do something that I call explanation or elaboration. Elaboration means to add more detail. So once you put in a quote, the first thing you need to do is this: paraphrase your quote. That means put the text-based evidence that you just quoted into your own words. Now, you might say, why do I need to do that? I just put it. By paraphrasing it, it shows that you know what you just did. Now, I know obviously you say, well, that's a simple quote. Wouldn't anyone understand it? Most likely, but sometimes you're going to put quotes in that people won't necessarily understand. And when you put it in your own words, it shows your readers that you know what you're talking about. So say I'm doing the LEAP test and I put a direct quote. By paraphrasing it, I show the person who's going to be grading it that I know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so Lucy felt a little frightened, but she felt very inquisitive and excited as well. Lucy is a little scared about what is happening, comma. However, she is curious enough that she is ready to keep going forward. Okay, so I put what's happening, I have it in my own words. And now, let's go to step 2. After you paraphrase, explain how the evidence proves your claim. Okay. What's my claim again? It's that Lucy is being curious. This shows that Lucy is a very curious girl. I don't even like that's kind of let's change that up. This shows that Lucy is curious enough to continue on an adventure in a place she has never visited. This shows, excuse me, thank you. Proofreading is very important. And I will say, by the way, when I write with students, I make mistakes all the time, and that's why I'm always having to go back and reread it. That's why getting this information down, then going back and editing is important. But because I'm doing it on the computer's kind of helping to edit for me. But normally this is happening in writing, and so I have to go back over it. So always go back over your text once you've written it down, especially if you're typing and you have like a time test for, like, say, the leap, and you're typing everything. You go back and edit after you got all the main information down. Okay, this shows that Lucy is curious enough to continue on an adventure in a place she has never visited. Okay, now I have to write about Alice. Similarly, comma, Alice is also very curious and adventurous when she enters the Wonderland. Okay, let's go back to our chart. So we said that she was curious Okay. Alice is very curious and adventurous when she enters the Wonderland. Alice's curiosity about the talking rabbit is what leads her to the rabbit hole in the first place. She shows her adventurous side when she, let me look back at my chart. Let's see. She shows her adventurous side when she continues going through the challenges. There we go. The challenges she faces in exploring this strange place. Okay, so I'm going to do what's, I'm explaining it in my own words. I have text-based evidence for Lucy. What text-based evidence did we put for Alice? We said Alice has got to, okay, so this is where Alice, this proves how adventurous she is. Okay, so we're going to put that in there. We're editing now. There we go. Alice, like Lucy, shows her adventurous side. I don't like that. Alice, like Lucy, shows she is enthusiastic for adventure. I don't like this. Let's see. Let's look at our quote that we have. Let's look at our evidence. Alice had got so much into the way of expecting nothing but out of the way things to happen that it seemed quite dull and stupid for life to go on in the common way. Okay, so we're showing that she's adventurous here. Alice, like Lucy, shows she considers adventure to be very important. When she faces a challenge she cannot overcome, she gets very sad. Quote, this is one of those, I'm going to be a little lazy. You know what? You can't do it, so why should I? So I'll have to type it. Alice had got so much into the way of expecting nothing, so I have to go back and forth. I got so much into the way of expecting nothing but out of the way things to happen. I got so much into the way of expecting. Is it this? I have to check. Might not be. Things to happen, comma. That it seemed quite dull and stupid for life to go on in the common way. That it seemed quite dull and stupid for life to go on in the common way. Okay, so I've got text-based evidence, put in our own words. Alice thinks that life is not worth much if there is no adventure. This shows that she and Lucy have much in common with their traits of being, let's say, inquisitive and adventurous. Okay, so I did it again. This shows. Okay, so I have written a nice body paragraph comparing them. Now, I know you might say that's a lot, and it is, but it's because I'm making a claim about two people from two different texts. Now, sometimes you'll write claims, subclaims. That's called a subclaim because my big claim is my thesis. A subclaim is one of those ideas in my thesis that I explore in a body paragraph. I'm going to explore another subclaim in a moment, which is going to be how they're different. Being able to notice those differences, being able to notice that that I have this paragraph is going to focus on this idea and another paragraph is going to focus on a separate idea is an important part of learning to write an essay. And I know, especially if this is at the beginning of the year, you're looking at this and you're saying, oh my gosh, that's a huge paragraph. It is a lot. I know it's a lot. But learning to do these skills and going through the process is what we're trying to do now. That's why we're doing this in stages. So if this is confusing or if this is just too much, you're saying, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming, stop, take a break, and then go back and watch this again. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and stop now and we'll do the second body paragraph in another lesson.